make some opening remarks. We'll open up for questions, and then the Florida players will follow in here. Coach, your thoughts on today's game?
Yep, it was a great day. It was a great crowd. Probably the best crowd we had since we've been here. Says a lot about our fan base and the loyal support that we have for all the Gator fans out there. It was great to Florida Players Network last night, seeing a lot of the former players and those guys being excited about where we're headed with our program. I thought, again, offensively, really good tempo today on the ball. Looked like we got a little tired defensively at times, which is not good, but I thought, excuse me, Jeff's decision-making was good. I thought he threw it well. Got to clean up some things in protection. Bullard got some penetration on us a little bit there early in the scrimmage. I thought Austin Harden kicked outstanding. The one extra point was a bad snap, and Holder had a hard time getting it down, but extremely pleased with the day offensively in 15 practices, how far we've come, and I think I attribute a lot of that to Kurt Roper and the offensive staff and the job they've done, and our kids have been very receptive. They've got confidence in what we're doing, and I think it's a good fit. I really do, moving forward. So pleased with that. I thought, again, we had limited procedural issues. I think we had 2 with the second group. That's too many, but took care of the football. I thought we were very efficient offensively in what we're trying to do, and didn't get to some of the quarterback run game, which you'll see in the fall, which even helps us even further with Jeff and what he can do. So still got a long way to go, 112 days till we report, and our older players understand the importance of this time of the year, of understanding in all 3 phases, taking the next step schematically, being in shape, being ready to go, understanding what it's going to take to be successful in winning this league. We got a long way to go up front defensively. When Darius Cummings and Leon Orr aren't in there, we have a huge drop-off to our next group. John Bullard can play inside, but, we get a little thin on the edges when he's playing inside. Now, he's a really good nickel rusher, so we'll continue to look at that. I think we've got quality depth at the linebacker position and quality players. And I think in the secondary, the talent's there. We're just a little inexperienced, but I'd rather coach in a really talented, inexperienced guy than a guy that can't play. So I like where our talent level is as far as that's concerned. I think we're deep as we've been at wide out with guys that can make some plays on the ball. I thought running back, I was very pleased with Adam Lane today. Kelvin made a really nice run. Mack made a couple nice runs. You get Matt Jones back in the fall. Hunter Joyer can play in that role as well. We're still looking for that consistent, playmaker at the B position for us. I thought DeAndre Goolsby did some nice things late in the scrimmage. So we got enough talent base to have a good football team. These next 112 days are going to be critical for us, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Will, are you surprised that the offensive guys have been able to pick this thing up as quickly as they have, a whole new offense?
Really not. I mean, not as much from the standpoint of experience on the offensive line. You take our first group, that's the guys that have played a lot of snaps. We're still an inside-outside zone team, a counter team, and a power team. And so those guys have been blocking those looks for a long time. The passing game, we've really narrowed things down. We've simplified things for our receivers, for the quarterbacks, is the amount of reads and different things we're doing. So I think Kurt's just done, and one of his strengths, and one of the reasons why I hired him was his the development at the quarterback position. I think the guy's really, really good. And talking to, I talked to Archie Manning a lot about the development of Eli and what he felt, what Kurt did for him in that process. When you're able to talk to somebody firsthand, that really is it says a lot about his development at the quarterback position. And I think Jeff's made a lot of strides. I was talking to Jeremy after the scrimmage. Jeff hasn't played football in a while. He really missed the whole fall. He missed the first 12 days of camp, and then only played really in 2 full ball games in the fall. So he hadn't played a whole lot of football other than the 15 days we've been out there with him, because he wasn't really clear to do much movement-wise till right when spring started. So we're real pleased with where he is.
We'll go Pat and then Gene.
Obviously in a spring game, if you have a completed pass, the defense didn't get the job done. I mean, were there any concerns at halftime about your defense? Is it just obviously you said Fowler and Hargraves.
Well, the concerns from the standpoint of tackling in space. Now, when you play against an offense like we have, we're going to create tempo and we're going to create space plays. So you've got to be able to tackle in space, and it was pretty obvious on some of the more explosive plays. We had the ball hemmed up. We didn't lever it to the right. We didn't get the guy on the ground. So that is a huge concern for you. But with that being said, we're a lot better when Darius and Leon are inside, and obviously Dante on the edge, and then having a guy like Vernon. We needed the young guys to play a bunch of snaps today, and we knew that going in. So I think you go into a day like today, get some answers, answer yourself some questions about where you are and how far you need to go. But more than anything, sometimes for those young players to understand how far away they are. And sometimes they get a little bit of a skewed opinion of where they are. But certainly the talent level is there, but we've got a ways to go to shore up some things on the back end.
Gene and then Zach.
Will, how much of this confidence that you're talking about, how much of it is simply the scheme that Kurt has brought in, and how much of it is an upgrade in talent and being a little healthier?
Well, I think being healthier is number one. I think that we have upgraded our talent. I think we're as good at wideouts as we've been. We're as good in quality and depth at running back as we've been. Jeff's playing his best football. And I think you take our starting 5 offensive linemen, I feel pretty good about where we are. And we got to continue to have some guys come along in that group. But this is probably the most complete offense we've had since we've been here, just from a playmaking standpoint and a depth standpoint. Not as much on the offensive line. We had more depth last year on the offensive line than we have right now. Again, I think a lot of it, Kurt's a very positive guy. And I think our players have really fed off his confidence and his energy, and they really have a true belief in what we're trying to do.
And how strong you feel like your run game could be next year with him coming on and the other guys you have returning?
Well, I think one of our best personnel groupings will be 2 backs, 3 wides. And getting 2 backs in the game at the same time, because it's about getting your best 11 out there, and certainly as those guys continue to improve, we could see that happen. But I think, the run game again, hasn't really changed a lot from us. It's all from the gun, but there's not a whole lot of change in the run game as far as blocking schemes and how we're blocking things.
And then with Trenton Brown, he got the start at right guard today. How do you feel he
Got to
did?
get your best on the field, and he's one of our best 5. So we're going to get him in a situation. We did the one-on-one board drills every day. Sometimes when you have a guy with that height, you worry about putting him inside because of pad level, especially when you play some of the smaller, shorter stature defensive tackles. It's hard to get up under their pads. And he did board drill one day, and he answered our questions pretty quickly that he could get his pads low and do what he needs to do when he wants to. So, but he's a guy on one pull today. It was a beautiful block on Jared Davis. Really cleaned out the alley for us there. But he is a big man. He moves extremely well. He's had a really good spring. He's improved every day.
So you think that could be a permanent move for him?
Yes. Yeah.
Joel Alway and then Edgar up front. Joel.
Coach, a dozen or so guys caught passes today. Obviously, when you split the team in half, there are more opportunities to catch balls. But is that what you expect to see, maybe 8 or 10 guys every Saturday catching balls?
Well, I do, and I think a lot of that has to do with how we're set up schematically. I mean, off all the run game, we have outlets and the quicks of slants and hitches and takeoffs and different route combinations we have off the run game. So it's not about getting to the line of scrimmage and getting us in the right run. That's important, but call the play and then have an outlet from it if you don't like the run box numbers. And that's where, Kurt's offense really is, taking it to another level. It creates a lot of run-pass conflicts for a defense when you're able to call a play, and you can always be right as the play caller. Because if you don't like the run box, you throw the quicks outside. Now you got to be able to throw and catch and do some of those things, which the timing of those things are critical, and I think those will continue to improve as we move forward. But yeah, there's no question. It's not a lot of senses of where we're in a 2-by-2 formation or a 3-by-1 formation, and we've got an inside zone called. We could be hotting the ball to the 3-man side or to the 1-man side, depending on the look.
Edgar up front here as well.
Where's Jeff, in your opinion, made the most strides, and did a player or two kind of stand out to you today that maybe he made that he might not have?
Well, I think, in our defense, we try to, coverage-wise, squeeze the middle of the field, force the ball to be thrown outside. You could probably count on one hand the number of quarterbacks in college football who are going to consistently beat you with field outs. And he threw a couple today that were well-thrown balls, one on 4th down, I believe. That was the coverage was squeezed to the middle of the field. You're going to force them to make that throw. It's a long throw. The ball's in the air a long time. It's a very difficult throw to make consistently well, and he's consistently made that throw through spring. But I just think, again, probably one of the better, throws he had today was a throwaway. It was a scramble pass in a 1-minute situation before half, and he throws it out of bounds. I mean, just decision making and all those things will continue to improve as he continues to process information within what we're trying to do.
I mean, in the 2-minute drill, he looked real comfortable with in rhythm and stuff. Do you feel like that's kind of where he's best right now?
Well, I think he's in the shotgun, and that's what he was recruited here to do, and that's what he's doing what he was recruited here to do.
Did you think about going for 2?
No, I wanted to kick as many times as I could today, and Frankie had not had another opportunity, so I wanted to as many times as we could kick, I wanted to kick. So those guys kicking, I thought Austin kicked extremely well.
Time for a couple final questions. We'll go Robbie, go ahead.
Will, how big is that for us? Austin, 4-4 as far as going forward?
Well, I think, confidence, it's kicking, and I've talked to a lot of mental conditioning coaches in the off season about, being the golf swing and a swing of a kicker's leg is very similar. And a lot of that has to do with confidence and hitting the ball the same way all the time. Whether you don't like to ever miss it, but there is such thing as a good miss if you hit it the right way and you're not hitting it a different way every time. And I think he's just been more consistent with his plant foot. He's been more consistent with his swing motion of kicking through the ball, and you more consistent of his fall through falling forward. You see too many times last year he's fallen off to the left on everything. Well, that causes you to overcompensate, pull it, push it. And so he's been more consistent in kicking the ball.
Pat, over to the right.
Well, even with the guys you had out, could you have exposed your defense with last year's offense the way you did in the first half of this game?
Well, I just think it's just different from creating so many plays in space. It creates a lot of one-on-ones and get the ball in the guy's hands and make defenses make plays against you. And that to me is why this is something I think has been really good for our players and giving them a lot of confidence in what we're trying to do.
Now straight in the back.
In the back, Coach. Your backup quarterbacks, Greer and Morningwig, they seem to play off each other pretty well today. Do you think they're pushing Jeff a little bit and maybe learning from each other in that backup role?
I don't know about learning from each other. I don't think that they're on the level Jeff is right now. But he's played a lot of football for us and a lot of winning football. So, but I think both of those guys have done some nice things through training camp here, and both of those guys really, again, the younger players taking a huge step forward in this 112 days before we report is critical, and those two guys specifically, and Jeff as well. I mean, Jeff knows that, but really important for those guys to continue to improve. And the number of at-bats they continue to have in a new offense for Skylar, in college football for Will, they're just going to continue to get better and better.
Did you see positive things from each of them, though?
Absolutely. I think, again, just decision-making. Will's a little jittery when he got in there first drive and hung one there on the curl. And that's to be expected. Those things are, as a coach, going into those situations, those guys. But I've really looked at from practice 1 to practice 15, have those guys improved every day? And yes, I think the answer is yes. I think those guys have made subtle and sometimes huge leaps of improvement in what their play has been.
Jeff in the middle here.
You mentioned a little concern at the B position, and we've heard that Matt Jones could get somewhat of a look there. How much do you anticipate that he could help you at that position?
Well, Matt needs to carry the ball too, and so he's certainly going to have a role there. But what that position does for you from a defensive perspective is, instead of people say, "Why don't you just put another receiver in there if you want a dynamic receiver?" But it changes blocking surfaces for a defense. It changes from a 3-man blocking surface to 2-2-man blocking surfaces when a receiver's in the game, because you're not going to get some of the same combination blocks, and then you can build from a 6-man to a 7-man protection more with a tight end than you are with another receiver. So it creates more of it's a different call in the game defensively when you have that type of body in there. So, again, I think we've done some nice things with that at that position. We just got to continue to grow it and to continue to bring the right person along for that. Hunter Joyer will also be involved in that as well and did a great job in spring. But it makes it difficult for the defense to call a little bit more when you have a bigger-bodied guy in there. Now, do you lose something as far as receptions and things are concerned? With our offense right now, you do, and depending on how Matt grows in that position as well. But he's going to play the running back position as well.
No major injuries this spring. That's got to be a relief.
Well, we still got to get him out of the locker room, So, what are you trying to jinx me, Jeff? What are we doing? That was a mean shot there.
Any final questions for Coach? Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks y'all so much.
We have Adam Lane in the back right, or to your left.